Ray's FBI has been protecting Andrew McCabe and also Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. We've yet to receive any text. I think we've received a few text messages only because a few of them had turned over to Congress. Still not clear where we're going to get the others. I mean, they suggested they'll give them to us, but it's not clear because they've taken the legal position that text messages aren't subject to FOIA. We had some good news on a big case we had. I kind of get outraged even with the good news. We have been representing a former, he's retired now, top FBI agent, Jeffrey Danek. And he had asked for the text messages of Andrew McCabe, the former #2 FBI director who was fired for misconduct. And he wanted text messages about his communications and other communications about the Hillary Clinton issue. For instance, McCabe's wife, you may recall, received a boatload of money from the Terry McAuliffe machine. And McAuliffe is a Clinton member of the Clinton world. And he was not only involved in the Clinton email investigation, he says it wasn't as substantial as others might, but he was involved. And in fact, the conflict was so egregious that he secretly, despite saying it wasn't a conflict publicly, ended up recusing himself from the Clinton email matter just a week before the election. How do we know that? Because Judicial Watch found it out. So he's running the Clinton investigation as #2. And so what it is, we wanted his text messages. Our client wanted his text messages. Well, the corrupt FBI said text messages aren't subject to FOIA. Oh, you might be surprised to hear that, but that's been their legal position. Ray's FBI has been protecting Andrew McCabe and also Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. We've yet to receive any text. I think we've received a few text messages only because a few of them had turned over to Congress. Still not clear where we're going to get the others. I mean, they suggested they'll give them to us, but it's not clear because they've taken the legal position that text messages aren't subject to FOIA. Now, our client began asking for these records back in 2016. We sued on his behalf in 2017. It's now 2020. It's now end of July, beginning of August 2020, and we still don't have any records. And we litigated and litigated, and we finally got a ruling. And the court was, it was an adverse ruling against the FBI. The court, in my view, should have just thrown them out in terms of their objections. But he said, you know, you haven't followed, or excuse me, she said, you haven't followed, you haven't given me enough information to suggest they're not records under the law. And of course, she gave them a second chance to come back. Well, you know, the writing was on the wall, and the FBI has capitulated, and they've decided to begin the review and process Andrew McCabe's text messages. So it's a big victory. It's a long way of saying we won, right? Well, we haven't won one in the sense that they haven't given us the text messages yet. They're still stonewalling. There's only 150 text messages, and they still say they'll need till the end of August to tell us when they're going to give them to us. So it's now year 4 of waiting for what has turned out to be 150 text messages to be reviewed. 150 text messages to be reviewed. And again, Andrew McCabe, the corrupt Andrew McCabe, they've been protecting. So you can imagine what's in these text messages that they were so crazily trying to protect in court from disclosure. They've outrageously stonewalled the release of these text messages for years. Ray's FBI has done it. And as I said, they're separately stonewalling the release of Page Strzok materials. They've got 8,000 pages of emails and maybe text messages, and they don't want to release all of them to us completely until at least late 2021, 2022. They're protecting the Obama gang. They're protecting Hillary Clinton. This Justice Department, this FBI, and as I said previously, the State Department as well. But Ray's FBI is in cover-up mode. And I'm glad they capitulated here, but let's be clear. It was capitulation in the face of an adverse court ruling. They were forced. And Judicial Watch beat the FBI. I don't know about you, but isn't it frustrating that we have to sue law enforcement agencies like the FBI and Justice Department? Because Justice Department, despite all the sleight of hand you hear, the Justice Department is responsible for what the FBI does. The leadership of the Justice Department runs the FBI, technically speaking, in the sense that they can hire and fire people there. The FBI isn't separate from the Justice Department. And we have to sue the law enforcement agencies to get the law enforced that they're breaking. Imagine if the FBI came and said, I want your text messages, and you said, no, it's not a record. What do you think the FBI would do? They'd knock down your door. Take your computers like they did to Paul Manafort and Roger Stone and people like that. I'm tired of this corrupted FBI thinking it's above the law. And Director Wray has done little to clean house there. So we won, but you know, it's always going to be a fight just even to get to the next step. I joke we have to sue to get the time of day from these folks. So you can just imagine the corruption in these text messages about Clinton and McCabe and McAuliffe and the Clinton Foundation. You know, we're not asking for this because we don't think anything's there. Something's there, and the FBI's cover-up suggests it's big. So we'll see.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.